Hello, and welcome to the first ever Mr. Stitch Films Creepy Corner with your host Anthony M. Winson. Each episode will be diving into creepy subjects, whether that be discussing horror films, ghost stories, urban legends, etc. This will basically be our creepy corner of the internet for an hour to talk things we like. Each episode will hopefully have an extra special guest to help me discuss these weird and wonderful topics. Today's co-host is a really good friend of mine, Sarah Wincordis, whom I've worked with many times on my own projects. Sarah, why don't you say hello and tell the audience a bit about yourself?
Hello. Yes, I'm thankfully not too extra. I'm Sarah Wincordis, and as Anthony says, we've worked together a few times. I'm predominantly a theatre actor, but in the last decade or so, I've delved into some indie filmmaking, and I get to play several parts sometimes in the same feature film with Anthony, of various degrees of makeup.
Or black treacle, which we substitute for makeup. How did we first meet, Sarah?
So we first met online. We were chatting online about doing a short film for an anthology, and it was all going to be happening. And then unfortunately, Anthony had to cancel because his cat set fire to his flat, and I believed him. And we did eventually make the short a few years later.
And that ended up being Pumpkin Tales 2.
Yeah.
Oh, said cat's just walked into the room now. It's like he knew was talking
Timing.
about him.
Hello, Cody, Firestarter.
Twisted Firestarter. So we've worked together now on quite a few projects. I think most recently was TerrorVision, which we just got nominated for an award for Best Visual Effects by Midland Movies, which is quite an honour, being that the crew kind of consists of me, myself, and I, plus my husband who was on sound.
I did some lighting.
Sarah did some lighting and she did her own makeup and her own stunts along with Ken. So you did very well on that.
Not too many stunts that time, but the fight was... the fight was well choreographed.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was. I think we did well. I mean, we kind of came in not knowing what the fight was going to be, and we sort of step by step did it upstairs, didn't we?
Yeah. Both Ken and I have got quite a background in theatre not together at all. I've never appeared on stage with him. But both of us have got a background in theatre and combat. And so we developed it together, really, didn't we? We rehearsed and saw what worked for you.
Yeah, sort of a great evening, really, because, I mean, like I said, it was a shortish script for Halloween, which was shot after Halloween. I mean, I've taken a step back from filmmaking over the past couple of years, and I think 2023 was sort of like my step back into trying to build my portfolio again. So people kind of came together to try and help me do that.
Forced you to start making films again. You will film us.
You will do this.
Even if we're rubbish, you're going to film us. We don't care.
I mean, and so far, everything has been well received by people. TerrorVision, like I said, just received that nomination, and it's also awaiting other festivals at the moment, so fingers crossed for us. But enough about our creativity. We decided that our first podcast was going to be about horror films. So Sarah said recently that she just revisited a classic, Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought that we would have a little chit-chat about Candyman and our thoughts on that. I mean, I've not seen it in a while. I should have really watched it before today, but I think I've seen it enough times to sort of hark back to it. I mean, what were your initial thoughts after watching it for the first time in many years?
Oh, yeah. So Candyman's the first film which I watched. They were speaking about the original, by the way. So I watched it at an age, and obviously... You've got you could only give a perspective from where you are in life. So I was much younger, Caucasian female in the UK. So a lot of things went over my head, which I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about now.
Before watching it when you were younger, did you know about Bloody Mary in the mirror?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we all pretty much grew up with that before watching Candyman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Yeah, I mean, I've always been fascinated by folklore, and how other short films I've worked on have come about. The fact that fairies aren't nice, and how people's superstitions come about, and that the Candyman gets his strengths from his followers
Yeah.
and the fear that he creates. I loved that. I saw it when I was much younger as a real tragic love story.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was my biggest takeaway from it. And the fact that it's such a charged storyline about race and how you're seen.
Yes.
Which, yeah, I thought the performances were really strong. This is what I saw coming back to it as well, but noticed more about the filmmaking and, the big overhead shots during
Yeah.
the titles where the people all look like ants or bees in a hive.
Yes.
But yeah, it was interesting going back. And I think aside from things which do seem very dated, like obviously the clothing, and that is of the time.
Is it dated? It's making a comeback.
It's quite dated. The fact she smokes like a chimney throughout it. And there's certain things about it, like her being mansplained to, and her trying to have her voice and just getting trodden down by, I'll get onto the patriarchy if I'm not too careful. But those sort of things.
I suppose looking back, that is kind of true, isn't it? Like she comes to that guy about her a thesis on doing like what is the tower block called? Thingy Green. I want to say
that's the thing. I had no idea that was a real place.
Yeah, and it was full of like proper gangster hood people when they were filming it. Like apparently Clive Barker and team had to have an agreement, didn't they? Like you can be on film if you don't cause a problem. And apparently on the last day of filming, a bullet was shot into like the production van or something.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't know who. I don't think they know who did it, but it was a really rough and dangerous place to film.
I mean, it adds so much more to it being older and realising it. Sorry about me laughing. I'm just laughing at proper gangster hood people.
Because I am white as white can be.
I'm just imagining these people just consisting of hoods. And now I'm thinking David Cameron hug a hoodie. Sorry. Neuro spicy brain. Yeah, I had no idea about this whole neighbourhood, which was just seen as trouble.
Caprini Green, that was it, wasn't it? Caprini Green. Yeah.
So I didn't get that. I saw the fact that it was a white woman trying to be brave, trying to be sympathetic without going in like a white saviour. Just trying to get people's take on things without treading on toes. Fantastic actress. That's the name.
Virginia Madsen. Yeah. I mean, Clive Barker, when you kind of think about it, really pushed boundaries in the plots, really kind of, being early 90s, strong racial tones in like horror film, because those sort of topics were taken on for more mainstream cinema, like Colour Purple and things like that, and A Long Walk Home. But this was a horror film, so not many people were really paying much attention to racial, I suppose, like subplots. But so I suppose he took a big risk in that, and it paid off massively. I mean, because it, like you said, it is a tragic love story about interracial couple, and the black man being murdered for it, really, and it's horrible. And I mean, Tony Todd did a fantastic job as Candyman.
Awesome. What a voice.
I know. I remember as a child watching that for the first time, and when she's in that car park or parking lot, depending on where you're listening from, and you just hear Helen.
Yes?
Oh,
yeah,
terrifying.
Resonate.
Yeah.
The one thing I will admit, I did go and Google, because as I say, I'm very naive. I can only speak from where I come from. And my experience, I did go and Google to see if it was more seen as more controversial nowadays. And he did play on the fact that white people were very fearful about, is it Caprini Green?
Yeah.
So that added to the horror for a lot of Caucasian viewers, I suppose, and might have perpetuated the fear and intolerance for people living there, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad though to think like when we're quite lucky that we don't have to live in areas like that, or our communities have been forced to live in areas like that. And it just kind of, again, putting something that front and center for people to be like, you know what, open your eyes, this is how the other half lives. It's just kind of really powerful filmmaking. So you know, you've got so many different layers of horror for it in that horror film. And I think the other thing that I always found quite unsettling is having an entity controlling your reality in the way that, like, you know, he seduces her into like the sleep and then putting her in a position where she wakes up covered in blood and the dog head and all that kind of stuff.
That played onto my fears.
It's just not being
fear of going mad and nobody believing you that things are happening, and not being able to tell people for fear of them thinking you're absolutely crazy, because who would believe it?
Exactly. I mean, crazy people don't know they're crazy.
That's the biggest shock, in it?
Yeah.
Is when he actually gets the doctor. Oh my God. It was brilliant, because you think, oh no, nobody's going to believe her. She's going to be there and he's going to come and get her out with. And nope, doctor gets it. Fabulous.
Yes. And I mean, her arsehole husband, the first sign of trouble, and he's like, I'm going to move in with my mistress because you're not locked away. I mean, obviously, he was already having the affair, you know, which is an arsehole anyway. So, but then for him to be, I mean, that ending as well.
It's a very good ending.
I mean, jumping straight to the end just to talk about, because I mean, suddenly it's like, oh, poor me, my wife's dead. It's like, I'm going to say, you've been doing your student for how many months? You don't have a right to be upset. You know, you caused this, and then you get your comeuppance.
And not that I'm a vindictive person much, but I like the fact that he regretted things before he was killed.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like she spoiled their happy ever after. It's like, oh, you called her.
Yeah, absolutely. I think...
And the girlfriend will obviously go to jail for it.
Yeah. I mean, that...
Or an asylum.
Yes. So full circle. Now she's like, oh, you're crazy. Get away from us. Who's the crazy one now? You know?
Yeah. It's a wonderful thing about myths as well, and how you've got to feed a myth, and Cody's back. Hello, Cody.
Typical. He's been gone all day, and now it's like, I'm sorry, you're doing something where you're recording.
He's my friend.
I now need to be disruptive, and the dog's now whining. Oh, so professional here, aren't we?
It's a menagerie.
I mean, the music, Philip Glass?
I think so. If you
sorry,
give it a quick Google.
Quick Google. Glass, yes, I thought it was.
It adds a lot.
It's creepy. I think he wasn't happy about it, apparently. He didn't know he was writing for a horror film, if memory serves. So I think when it came out, he wasn't entirely happy with it. But
it's not. That's the other thing which I really liked about it, is it's not your usual. It wasn't your usual horror at the time, because Candyman, totally empathise with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I was treated like that, and, you know, what they did to him, I'd come back with a hook and go after people. But why go after the black neighbourhood?
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Keeping fear alive.
Keeping fear alive, but you should be going after the gentrified people outside of that neighbourhood, you know.
I mean, that's kind of like the sequel. If memory serves, again, it's been quite a few years since I've seen the sequel. I think I remember as a kid not liking it, but now as an adult, I'm like, you know what, it's not too bad. I think that kind of goes into like the coming after like the family of the people that did it to him.
I mean, I might be
See, that would make more sense.
completely misremembering that.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's something in it about like descendants of the people that did it. Never saw the third one because I heard it was so bad. And then obviously not that long ago we got the remake from Jordan Peele.
I still haven't seen that.
It's not bad. I think it's clever with what they did with it. I mean, I can't make it because you've not seen it, so I don't want to spoil anything for you.
They did get Tony Todd back, though, didn't they?
No, well, right at the end.
Right.
He's right at the end, and I think there's like voice snippets, I think, throughout. Kind of like not necessarily front and center for you to know that it's Tony Todd. But yeah, it is. I think it's kind of like Candyman's different depending on where you're from, sort of thing. So it's kind of like he's an all-encompassing entity, like boogeyman, but depending on where you come from, you have your own Candyman, and then that's what Tony Todd kind of is at the end.
Like Santa and God, then.
Yeah, kind of, I suppose, in a way. Yeah,
that's how you draw it in comparison to yourself.
Yeah. I did have the same actress that played her friend in the original.
I see that there's an injustice. I think that's the other thing about it, is the injustice of the whole film. There is no justice.
Yeah, I mean, her friend, what was her name? Do you know what? People are going to be like, watch the damn film! I know, I'm sorry.
It's been a few weeks since I watched it, and I'm rubbish with names of people I know.
I know. I mean, this was kind of like very off the spur, kind of like, we want to do a podcast, just trying to get this one out of the way. So Sarah came to see me today and was like, let's do it. Let's just talk utter bollocks and see where we go with this.
Oh, it's been over 5 minutes. You can swear then.
Yes.
Because I'm really surprised at me.
Yes. Bernadette. Casey Levens, I believe that's how you pronounce the name. And Anne-Marie. So yeah, Anne-Marie was the mother who's, I believe, the baby goes missing.
Awesome.
Bernadette is her friend. I mean, like, in speaking of unjust, like, all she's doing is like going to see her friend, see if she's okay, and she gets it by Candyman. And I'm just like, Helen, could you not have said, like, more convincingly, don't come in, you're gonna get hooked?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
I'll see you today.
Yeah. Or just say something absolutely horrifying. She's like, you know what? Suffer in silence, and I'm not. Because I mean, I remember when I was younger watching that, and I was just like, you poor woman.
Yeah.
Like,
what I was going to say was, while you were looking up, and we mentioned as well, was I don't remember any of the actors being weak in it.
No, they're not. They are very strong actors. They all are. I mean, I love most things that Virginia Madsen's in, because I honestly think that she is just really, really underrated. I think a lot of stuff that she's in, she's just got this air about it. I think is great, and she's been in quite a few horror films, which I love. I mean, she's she's one of these people that's not like, oh, horror's beneath me, like some actors can be like. But yeah, I think
totally like that. We're not doing that.
So, horror's beneath you, Sarah.
Absolutely.
Sarah, who's pretty much always in horror. Well, whether or not it's for me or my fellow filmmakers of Nottingham, Liam Banks' films, you're like, Sarah, let's kill you. It's just like, okay.
I actually asked specifically not to be killed in the film, and we've done one. Your most recent one.
Oh, I mean, TerraVision, yeah, I suppose, kind of. I mean, also, listeners, like, I don't mean to be this kind of director, but Sarah, bless her, is doing the God's work
No,
of being like a vegetarian, save the animals and all this lot, and then I kill her and make her like have sausages all over her intestines. So she's a good troop in that respect.
Well, I'm not fully vegetarian. I just can't eat meat.
Well, but you still don't eat meat, which is commendable. I mean, I'd love to be a vegetarian. I've tried it and I was successful, but then I gave in because I'm weak.
Yeah,
maybe one day.
Yeah, I think...
Also, the sausages for Sarah's Guts is twice now. Twice.
Yeah. We didn't unlink them the last time, which makes me laugh. I see it and I'm just like...
I know. I didn't think about it. I mean, in all fairness, it was getting late.
Cold.
It was cold. It was at the end of my street on a kid's park. We probably looked like complete, like, child trafficking weirdos going to a park with sausages. Sarah lay on the floor.
Well, it was coming up to Halloween, that one, wasn't it?
Yes. I think it might have been September because it was just for me and Lewis.
Still cold.
It was.
Is it so cold?
Well, it's still getting to autumn.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, me and Lewis were just about to go on holiday, so that we wanted to get it filmed before we went away because I wouldn't have time when we got back.
Mm.
So, but going back to Candyman,
Yeah,
like, because we completely, like, me and Sarah do this all the time. We'll start with something, we might be talking about, like, a sofa and end up talking about, like, I don't know, the regression.
Nation or something.
Yeah, women's rights and, you know, and how the fabric of society is falling apart from the fabric of the sofa. I don't know, you know. We're weirdos like that. But yeah, going back to Candyman, we're talking about Virginia Madsen and how she is a trooper in what all that she does.
But she didn't have real bees in her mouth. Or maybe she...
No, I think she did. She did.
Or up against her.
No, I think they had real ones. I know that Tony Todd definitely had real bees because he said something like he wasn't gonna do it, and they said that they were gonna pay him X amount per sting if he got stung, and he got a pretty penny from being stung.
Really?
Yeah.
So I thought they were going to...
He had something in his mouth to stop him from going down or something, but he did still get stung quite a bit, I believe.
And did they not say they used special certain type of bees which were less likely to sting or something?
I think there was something to do with making them docile or something.
Sounds like a director to me. Like, oh, I was fine. Those ones don't sting.
Not a problem.
These are just the male ones. They don't sting.
No. Probably the worst ones out of the lot. I also kind of feel like was Virginia Madsen allergic, and that was quite a worry as well while filming it, I believe.
See, I'm going sideways into your filming now with your father-in-law going into anaphylactic shock.
Yeah, so on one of the films that we shot was the Baylop residence. We came to do the attic scene, and my father-in-law, who was already ill, I asked him to go and prep the attic for us to go up and film, not knowing that when he came down and says, "We've got a bit of bad news." Like, what? There's a massive wasp's nest in the attic. I was like, are you joking? So he, I can't remember if Lee went out or Ed went out and got like wasp killer, which Lee went up.
Sprayed something.
Yeah. So Lee went up completely bound in like a wasp makeshift preventative outfit, and then sprayed the whole wasp thing, but they just wouldn't die. I don't know if there was something wrong with this thing or... No,
because that's the thing. The week later when I went up covered in treacle going, I'm like...
That was a few days later after this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
they were still going about.
Yeah, because after we gave it a while for the wasp to settle down, I was like, we need to get this shot, so we're just going to have to quickly go in and do it. And Lee got stung like pretty much immediately. I mean, I don't think anyone else did, but Lee did. And then
Kel didn't.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, and so like not long after that, like Lee kind of went into like an anaphylactic shock sort of thing. I mean, it's what the doctors kind of suspected it was. Which was quite a traumatic evening, and I think it was completely.
I went out onto the main road dressed as a 1940s maid to go and flag down the ambulance to an abandoned house.
Yeah, I mean, they would probably thought it's probably very posh around here, maids and all that.
Honestly, it's not a crank. It's very worrying.
Yeah, I mean, God, I mean, I've told most people in the that were in the green room, the kitchen, that was back to this scene where Kelly was supposed to fall through the ceiling, and so Lee was putting a hole in the ceiling, and then next thing, like, no one knew what was going on, and I came running down the stairs going, I need an ambulance. So everyone probably thought that Kel had like seriously injured herself coming through the attic to begin with.
I can't remember what I thought at the time. I was just...
Yeah, I just kind of ran out the front door, like, saying on the phone, because signal was so bad, I couldn't really be in the house at the same time. They were like, can you go and check? And I was like, if I do, the signal's going to go. It was quite a worry. Luckily, he's absolutely fine, still with us. But
Kel was lovely and went and stayed with him.
Yeah, she did. She held his hand, and because he was really, really like in a bad state. So he went into hospital. We had to shut down everything for the day, and then he was happy for everyone to carry on the like next day and so forth. And Sarah, who's with us now, took on the fun role of being the tar monster, which was basically covering herself.
I think from that point I started doing a lot of sound as well.
You did,
it was the first time we worked together was that beat.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was. I mean, you must have thought, who is this Mickey Mouse Club filmmaker? Like, seriously. I mean, in all fairness, the first sound person left us because she felt ill on the first day.
Yes.
Yeah, and then she left us with a friend who was a bit odd. But yeah, so then you went in the attic where there's loads of wasps covered in tree. I was like, say, if you want to go near the wasp's nest and just crouch down and then appear out of darkness.
My favourite bit was getting stuck under the bed, where you had to lift the bed and then lift me off the carpet.
So it looked like Son had really bad incontinence.
But I was speaking to a friend the other day, a colleague, and I said my favourite bit is I body doubled for somebody a whole foot taller than me to pass by a window.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, Charlotte's so much taller than me.
Yeah.
She's at least a foot taller than me. She's very
What
tall.
are you?
I'm 5, nearly 3.
5'3". Well, God, she's
5
more
foot,
than
nearly
that.
3. She's got to be 6 foot.
She's
Charlotte.
like 6'4", I think.
Is she?
Yeah, she's about 6'4".
I know she's very tall, but everybody over 5'6" is tall to me. It's like, oh,
Because
giants.
I'm 6'1", and my brother is, I think, 6'4", 6'5", and Charlotte's roughly the same height as Craig. So I think she's
Okay.
about 6'4".
Yeah, she's very tall. So she's over a foot taller than me. So I wasn't exaggerating. You know, you get actress exaggerating again.
She was 10 foot taller than me.
Well, I wore her skirt over the top of my boobs. That's how tall she was.
Yeah, yes.
And also, she wasn't as slim when I walked past.
You are slim. Shut up.
But yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, it was definitely a shoot to remember. We keep getting sidetracked.
We go sideways. Yeah, sorry about. I did say I'm going to go sideways to mention it.
That was it, because that was
yeah.
was talking about the bees. That's
The bees,
why.
the bees.
That's why.
So do they have? Sorry, I'm asking you like you're the expert.
I was the director of Candyman. I am Clive Barker.
Did they use any more practical effects like that? That are quite groundbreaking and.
I don't really know, to be honest. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose there wasn't many effects in general, to be honest. It was all.
That's possibly why I liked it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a bloodbath like Freddy Krueger, who I didn't empathise with. It was just scary.
Yeah, I mean, he was a
This
child
actually
murderer.
scared me more
Yeah.
because you could empathise with most of the
And
characters.
again, like we said at the beginning, though, like Bloody Mary, because we
Yeah.
all grew up knowing the story about Bloody Mary, and you're like, oh my God, there's a new thing. Because I remember at school, people used to talk about Candyman as if he was real. I'm like, no, that's Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
You know, the kids got that confused. So, I mean, gosh, I think I recorded it on VHS in the 90s off Channel 4, because that was where I watched most of my horrors. It was either Channel 4. I used to get like the TV guide on a Saturday. Well, my mum did. And I had to go through for the whole week looking at like BBC 1, 2, 4, Channel 4, sorry, to see what horror films were on. And there was one on that I didn't know, or one I did know. I'd like program my VHS recorder, you know, for late night horror, and then watch it in the morning. And yeah, I remember Candyman being like one of those, and it just really scaring me as a kid. Like again, I think Tony Todd's presence, and like I said, his voice is so.
Do you not want to go and have a coffee or a pint with him though?
Tony Todd, absolutely.
As an adult, go. You've got the most beautiful voice. Just sit and speak to me for 5 minutes.
You make
I'll buy
many
you a
women
coffee.
slide off their chairs.
Stop saying that when you're facing me.
Yeah, I don't have a voice like that.
Only if I serve them too much beer.
I mean, did you ever watch Black Books?
A little bit.
And there's that one with Fran, who's obsessed with the guy. I can't remember what his name is. A British actor he does like the weather report or something. He's got the most sexy deep voice, and she calls him because she loves his voice, and she's like, "Do you want me to come, Fran? Fran, do you want me to come round? What's wrong, Fran?" And she's like, hello. Anyway, sorry, we'll talk about Tony Todd. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Totally, you know.
I think I might have seen Tony Todd before Candyman in the remake of Night of the Living Dead. I think I saw that perhaps first.
Oh, was he in that?
Yeah, he was in the remake of Night of the Living Dead, which was made by Tom Savini, which is he's more prominently a makeup artist, who did a lot of makeup stuff for like the original Dawn of the Dead and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it came about that he wanted to remake Night of the Living Dead, and he got rights and did it, and it's a really good remake. Because I mean, he made. I mean, that we could really be talking about this on another podcast, but anyway, like, because obviously the original, like, Barbara is very feeble and catatonic the whole film, and she's very woman of the time, really, that portrayed as weak and not being able to do anything.
Yeah.
And then the remake, like, Tom Savini's like, no, you're a bad bitch. Like, you're gonna kick ass. Like, you ain't gonna be catatonic through this film. You're gonna stand up. You're gonna kick some butt.
Excellent.
So yeah, it was. But yeah, Tony Todd was in that. I think I saw that before Candyman as well.
Ah,
But yeah, great actor.
very good.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that's one of the.
I think he's quite tall as well. I think he's tall.
Is he as tall as Charlotte?
I don't think he's as tall as Charlotte. Shall we look it up? Try and tell how tall he is. I mean, I think if
I think
this is where it's like 4'11" or something.
Quite tall, but as we say, I think most people are tall.
So he's 1.96 meters. So I think that is like 6'5". He's 6'5".
Well, there you go. He is tall.
Yeah, I thought
He's
he
taller than
was.
Charlotte.
Yeah,
He's taller than your brother.
yeah, I thought he was.
Gosh.
That's a big man.
All right.
Manly man.
Yeah. So what else about Candyman? I don't know. It's just watching with slightly.
I think in
With
all
older
fairness,
eyes, like the shots and how they did stuff.
Yeah.
It is.
there is
beautiful.
something to do with like the shot at the beginning, and I think like you said, like people looking like ants and stuff like that. I think that
Yeah.
is kind of but I think 90s in general was a really good era of horror, though. I
Yeah.
think it really was. I mean, obviously, 70s is a really good era for horror. 80s was very schlock. I mean, it's a great era for horror as well, but it was kind of like a Nightmare on Elm Street. It was dominated by Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff as well.
Child's Play.
Yeah, Child's Play to an extent. I mean, I think there was only
It's
like,
later 80s, was it?
yeah,
I remember it. I remember being a teenager when
I think
they
the
brought the ban out.
Child's Play 2 and
Yeah.
3, yeah, because of Jamie Borger. I mean, yeah, I think Child's Play was more maybe like going into the 90s. I think the first one was 80s. I can't remember which
Right.
side of 80s it was, but I think the sequels were like 1990 and then like 91, I think, something like that. But yeah, 90s was so good. I mean, you had like stuff like Candyman, then you had Scream, Wes Craven's New Nightmare,
Great.
I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legends. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
90s was great for horror.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really sort of revived, 'cause I think by the end of the 80s, everyone was sick of it.
Yeah.
Because it was just sequels of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, so everyone was
I think-
like, I'm done.
Am I right with thinking the 90s was when the first Final Destination came?
Very early 2000.
Oh, was it?
yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah. But
Think-
90s
think that.
Faculty.
Oh,
Faculty. Great film.
Brilliant film.
Love that.
Again,
Yeah.
you're kind of going, oh, this is scarier than a lot of other horrors I'm seeing.
Just kind of makes you. I think it's
Yeah.
a fun horror as well, and I think that's the thing about a lot of 90s was they
Yeah.
were kind of fun horrors.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
born 89. Sorry, don't want to make anyone feel old. So I kind
Cheers.
of like.
I think it's only me you're making feel old nowadays.
You're getting older, Anthony, and you're taking me with you. Yeah, and yeah, so I grew up watching like a lot of the 90s and horrors as they were kind of coming out, and then, like I said, recording them on Channel 4 late at night. And I mean, I remember, do you remember Puppet Master with the killer puppet?
Master. I think I've seen, I don't know whether I ever saw the whole thing. I have to admit, I only watched Blair Witch all the way through recently.
Oh,
I know.
there will be
I
a dedicated podcast to Blair Witch because it is amazing and I love it, and I will fight anyone that says otherwise. And also I met them last year and got signatures, so I'll be doing my a dedicated podcast to that. And
You
yeah.
probably need somebody other than me to speak about that one then. I went, oh yeah.
Yeah. They ran through some words.
Yeah, I think it was groundbreaking.
It really
But
was.
I don't think it's my sort of horror.
No, well,
I'm not one for loads of gore as well. I'm
See,
weird.
I'm-
I used to be terrified by Jaws. Reading Frankenstein in a children's book gave me nightmares.
you're not the
and
only
yet-
one.
I can watch other things, and my husband is very squeamish about
Gore.
gore
Yeah.
and guts and violence mostly. He couldn't watch Game of Thrones. I
my
see
bad.
it. No, yeah, it's sex, death, and dragons. Okay.
Yeah. Boobs,
Boobs.
dragons,
Yeah.
decapitation.
Occasionally, old people's penis.
Okay. Yeah. Catering to all masses.
Yeah, yeah. Less so as it went on, funnily enough. But yeah, I always find that things that scare me are things which are more psychological,
Yeah, I can agree with that.
and where I keep going on about empathizing. It's the empathy for the characters and the injustice of the whole.
As you get
flipping
older,
thing.
though, it is true. I mean, when I was younger, gore didn't bother me at all. I mean, I used to be like, gore is better, bring it on. As an adult now, I don't like gore. It really does make me uncomfortable. I think you can empathize, though, with those kind of things, though, in gory films. I think that's why you squirm as an adult. As a kid, you're like, breaking your arm, that's nothing. As an adult, you're like, that's going to hurt. So you squirm more.
Yeah.
And then people that you necessarily don't pick up on when you're younger in horror films and things like that, as an adult, you will. You're like, well, that's not fair. They're just an innocent bystander. As a kid, you're like, the body count, more body counts, the better.
That's you as a kid.
I wasn't. I mean, sound messed up. I was only slightly messed up.
I do remember. I'm going to interrupt you because that's me. Sorry.
That's fine.
One bit of something, which I don't know whether it is classed
something in something, or that was a something genre.
So one thing which made my toes curl and still does to this day, and it's also because I really admire her as an actress, is Midwich Cuckoos.
I don't know what that is.
Kirstie Alley.
I mean, Kirstie Alley, bless. I mean, going on the side, a side tangent. I mean, she was sort of cast the wasteland when she became a Trump supporter, which is so sad. And then she died. Yeah, well, she died last year as well. But she came as a Trump supporter, so a lot of people weren't interested in her anymore, which is sad because at the end of the day, she's still a human being, and she was a great actress.
Yeah. Fabulous
Sorry.
actress.
Yeah.
So in Midwich Cuckoos, sorry if you've not seen this, but it's brilliant, and I'm going to spoil it for you anyway. So
whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil it. So, and it's a brilliant book. So Midwich in England, I think, is the original book. But this is over in America. It's got Christopher Reeve,
Okay.
marvelous actor,
Yes. Yeah.
and Kirstie Alley, and so the whole town falls asleep
Okay.
for however many hours, and when they wake up, several of the women are heavily pregnant.
Someone was busy.
Yeah. So these babies, young children born, they've got, in the film with Kirstie Alley, they've got whiter than white hair, very blue eyes.
Children of the Damned.
Yeah, it's Children of the Damned. Midwich Cuckoos. Is Children of the Damned the title of that film then?
Yeah.
It's Midwich Cuckoos.
Is that
get
the name of
mixed
the
up.
book or something?
Yeah. And there's been
Okay.
several adaptations. So there is a black and white adaptation of Village of the Damned. Then,
Yeah.
So Midwich Cuckoos, Village of the Damned. Sorry. That's a really long way around. When
As you're like, white head, I was like, Midwich Cuckoos.
I don't know, I can't remember my friends' names. My husband is called what?
Jeffrey.
Is it?
I don't know.
But yeah, when the children turn on her, and because she's performed an autopsy on one of the children which had died,
Right.
and she just takes the scalpel, you don't see anything. You don't see very much at all. I think you see the tiniest bit of blood as it trickles up across like her neck and maybe out of her mouth. But it's all in her expression and how pained she is, and the fact that you're thinking she's doing it to herself.
Yeah.
She knows that she's doing it and she can't stop doing it. That I found so much more horrifying than seeing a load of people with getting their legs blown off and decapitated.
But yeah, and the other films from the 90s that I was thinking about, which were absolute awful films, but really good, were Species. Do you remember Species? With Michael Madsen. I mean, I remember the second one. I'm loving the second one because of how campy it was.
Oh, I've just remembered one where it's like a cockroach thing. Mina, it's another name. She was in Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion with Phoebe from Friends.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's her who plays the lead protagonist in it. And there's a child, and they play the spoons.
They play the spoons, ladies and gentlemen.
This is Guess That Film with Sarah Wincorn.
Give us a name, Sarah.
It's set in the subway, or certainly the monster's in the subway. And it's kind of like a giant cockroach. And it communicates with clicks, so the child's playing the spoons.
Oh, I don't know.
And she calls them something funny shoes or shiny shoes.
I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm going to have to look this
that,
up.
if that's not 90s, it's early 2000s.
Yeah, well, because there was, I think the relic was 90s as well, wasn't it? The museum where they bring some in a crate, which was, if I remember correctly, that was quite a good film, The Relic. So that's what I was thinking when you're thinking of like monsters and stuff, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't actually know where this one comes from. It's in the subway and yeah, something about his shoes.
Something about his shoes and clicky spoons.
But I think it's wings, or whatever sort of the derma, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. What do beetles have on the outside of them? I didn't take biology.
Beetles?
Yeah.
What, you mean like their antennas?
But it kind of folds the hard shell of its wings around it, and it looks like somebody in a trench coat.
Try to think.
I didn't dream this film. I've seen it more than once.
I'm.
You're googling it now
I
to see
am.
if I've made it up.
It's like you slept and dreamt this one.
Okay, if it doesn't exist, can we make it?
Is it Mira Sorvino?
Yes.
Let me have a look. Let's have a look. So, because keep talking.
Keep talking.
So there's not
Keep
dead air
talking.
about this man with squeaky shoes.
Yeah, she's calls him funny shoes or shiny shoes. I'm saying she. It might be a little boy now.
Don't misgender. I didn't know. She was in The Stuff. Not that I ever saw The Stuff. But she was in The Stuff.
80s, isn't it?
Yeah, 85.
Isn't that known for being one of the worst, most campy horrors?
I've never actually seen it.
I think
it's kind of like a blob.
It. Yeah,
kind
it's kind of
knockoff.
The Blob.
But it's stuff that people eat, isn't there?
What's the other one? High Society.
Mimic.
That's it, because it mimics humans, and the little person with the spoons. Is
Never seen it,
mimicking
but it's not through not wanting to see it. It's just one that always falls on my radar, and I always forget about.
I really like that one.
Mimic.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
What year was it?
97, I believe.
Oh, there you go, 90s.
Yeah, 97.
I was right.
I mean, because I love the remake of The Blob with Shawnee Smith. Do you remember that? I mean, that's 80s, I think.
Did I?
It was fantastic remake, so campy. 88. Shawnee Smith, Kevin Dillon is in that.
Oh.
Fantastic remake. Like, it's so badass. I mean, I think watching these films growing up was where I get my like love for final girls from. I think it's just amazing. Because speaking of final girls, you're a woman. Let's not get jacked. So I got into a bit of a discussion with this person online that was on about how. Because do you know the new Omen that came out, the first Omen that's just come out? So the star of that,
not seen it yet.
I've not seen it yet. I want to see it. It's got great reviews apparently, so I want to see it. The woman that's in that has basically come out and said that she's thrilled that horror is being dominated by females for once. And whatnot. And I was just sort of like, there was all these people commenting. This woman was like, for as long as I can remember, women have always been like put down as being like titillation and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hang on a sec.
I thought the whole final girl thing.
Exactly. Horror has been dominated for so long now by strong female characters. And I think it's the only genre that really puts women on a pedestal for being strong people.
Yeah. I mean, all the morality things, and it's, if you show a tit, you're not going to survive.
Yeah.
And also
rules.
that helps sell tickets.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it does tend to feature stronger female characters.
Yeah, I mean, and I said, as a filmmaker myself, I think growing up watching these films has always led me to write stronger female characters. I mean, I think it's probably, if someone was to psychoanalyze me, they're probably like, oh, your male characters are quite weak. Or like, read into that how you will.
Poor Ben.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I just find it so crazy for someone to say that. I mean, looking back in like the early horror films, women were very like, oh, scream,
but we're
run
going
away.
back to They're Coming to Get You, Barbara.
Exactly. And 70s, women were like very topless a lot of the times. But I mean, when like Halloween came around with Jamie Lee Curtis, she was like one of the first final girls. Yeah. And Heather Langenkamp in A Nightmare on Elm Street, and like several women in Friday the 13th series and stuff like that. I mean, there were strong female characters. And I mean, the director of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 said their biggest mistake was having a final boy.
Right.
And because it didn't do as well, they said, and they said that people just weren't ready for that because they're so used to a final girl.
Yeah.
I mean, a final boy's never really been a thing either. And I mean, I think,
No.
and she was going on about like this titillation stuff. I was like, look at it this way. You can see the progression in horror making women strong characters, whereas you look at a few chick flicks,
Yeah.
men are still put down as this eye candy, mostly stupid character for the women to oogle over.
Or teenage rom-com is, very pretty boy, very pretty girl, but she's wearing glasses and she's brushed her hair a different way.
You look amazing.
And she's slightly clumsy.
Yeah. I mean, if you're clumsy, you're ugly as sin.
Oh, God, yeah. I barely look in a mirror nowadays.
I mean, if I was a woman, I'd be the biggest ogre then.
Here's one again. Would you class this? I class this as a horror, I suppose, sci-fi horror. Pitch Black.
Pitch Black. It's been so long since I've seen Pitch Black because they did Chronicles of Riddick as well, didn't I? Pitch Black. Sci-fi.
It's a horror element.
It's got horror element,
yeah.
I think, dominantly because it's set on another planet, isn't it? Or is it a wasteland?
Monsters.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's monsters, but it's another planet, so I think prominently it's like sci-fi horror. See, this was a problem I got into with my not GCSE, my A-level media studies. So the task was, going off a tangent, I know supposed to talk about Candyman, but never mind. So on my A-level media studies, our main project was to create an opening for a thriller. So I did this one. It didn't rate very well. I'm cool with that. It's fine. But the one person in our class whose project rated highest, he made this zombie gore fest. And I said, well, that's not a thriller. That's a horror. And I said, surely he should have failed that course by not understanding his genres.
Yeah.
But, that's...
Yeah,
I know it's a tangent, but it's like just talking about where genres fall in things like
there's a little bit of crossover because my work is nowadays predominantly thrillers on stage, and I tend to like the more horror type of thriller where I've been chopped up in a bath and put in a fire, a burner in the lounge, and
And you survived this all this time on stage. I mean. There's not much budget with stage.
No, I know, it's brilliant. But yeah, and we've done various Jack the Ripper plays and musicals and things like that, which do verge on horror. And Frankenstein we did, which I would say is a horror more than a thriller.
Yeah.
It's that little bit of crossover about it.
Yeah. Are you one of these people with Frankenstein, though? Do you when people talk about it, they're like, oh, I've got this new figure, Frankenstein. Do you scream internally, Frankenstein's monster?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The amount of people
I'm the person who in rehearsals kept going, it's Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
I ain't got no body. Put on the roof. Yeah.
Wow, look at
It's an awesome film.
the candle back. Classic film. If anyone's wondering, we have not lost the plot. This is Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein.
And if you haven't seen it, you really should.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Mostly because they were corpsing themselves half the time.
It's pronounced Frankenstein. You're having me on.
I think it's pronounced Igor.
But they said it was Igor. Well, they were wrong then, weren't they? Brilliant film. Love it so much.
Very, very good. But yeah, so, crossover of genres a little bit, but I would say for a thriller, for an assignment, I wouldn't choose zombies.
No. I mean, zombies have very much been and gone now. I think that
I get mixed up and thinking of Michael Jackson.
So then?
Michael Jackson looked a bit like a zombie.
I mean, he did a whole music video with zombies, thriller. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think if you don't understand your differences between genres, then you shouldn't really be getting the highest scores on, I mean that's
no justice, we'll go back to injustice.
I mean, this was 20 years ago nearly in my A-levels.
It still hurts.
It does. I mean, like I said, I'm not bitter about my film because it wasn't that great and it was really poorly lit, and well, mainly because we were filming in the dark with my auntie and my brother outside of a church. But There were other people I think that did really well, from what I remember. But yeah, I just feel like, I mean that's more of an down to the teaching, I suppose. But then if the teacher is giving out high grades for the wrong assignment, then surely they need to evaluate what they're actually teaching.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not bitter about these teachers because they were awful, some of them.
The teachers you have when you're at school.
No, like some of these were like awful.
No,
I remember
I'm
my art teacher humiliated me in front of the entire class. Like,
nice.
yeah, because he like called out my a presentation on my work and said basically it was shit in front of everybody. I was like, and everyone said to me as well, it wasn't shit. It was just needed a bit of TLC, a bit of finishing here and there. But he was never around to help.
Right.
I mean, as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and then someone's like tells you your work is shit in front of everyone, like it's quite distressing.
I had a PE teacher who hated me. So within a week of moving up to Scotland, I said my first proper swear word, and it was at a teacher.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, no kids, you should respect your teachers.
But not if they're bullies and hate you because you're of a different nationality.
No, that's called bullying.
But yeah, he had me as well because as he turned away, I went, fuck off. And he stopped in his tracks but then continued to walk. But he did continue to bully me, my brother and my sister until he retired. I've got very, very specific last name, especially in a small community in Scotland. So he could tell we were related. But he made me walk in the shallow end of the pool practicing my arms.
You should have pulled a Miss Tingle on him. Have you seen Teacher Miss Tingle?
No, I've seen the is it Miss Tingle or Miss something else?
Kevin Williamson.
Oh no, I'm
Who
thinking
wrote
of
Scream.
the one with Katie Holmes, whatever that one's called.
It might be Katie Holmes that's in there.
But yeah, I mean, he did it to one other boy as well. And I wasn't the fastest of swimmers, but I can actually swim okay. I'm just not very fast, and proved more recently with filming in a river that I'm actually quite a strong swimmer.
Yeah, Katie Holmes is in that.
Katie,
and
yes.
Helen Mirren.
Oh, is she?
Helen Mirren's in it, yeah.
Oh, awesome actress.
Fabulous actress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have you and your siblings should have totally pulled Teaching Miss Tingle on him and go around, tie him to the bed. And
No, we used to call him Fruity Bill. He used to stand over the pool in his little shorts.
Why is it that most PE teachers seem Herbie?
Oh, I don't know.
We had,
but myself and this other person that was told to go and practice, we walked to the middle of the pool and stopped and had a conversation because he wasn't going to come in after us.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I was quite defiant.
I mean, we started off talking about Candyman and now we're talking about PE in school. I mean, this really is a tangent, isn't it?
Okay, horror films where school PE. Carrie,
yes. Carrie. Sissy Spacek.
Faculty again?
Yeah, Faculty. Oh, do you know what? I love a good horror that's set in schools. Like, I really do. There's something about it. And I think...
Because they're terrifying when you're a teenager.
They are. You know what? This is probably where most of it comes from. It really is.
Everybody has got nightmare stories.
Speaking about Carrie, did you ever watch the remake with Chloe Moretz?
Yes.
I hated it.
Let
me tell you.
I couldn't put my finger on why.
Let me tell you.
Like
for starters, Chloe Moretz is really pretty.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but by making your hair a bit frizzy, you are not Carrie. You are still pretty. Like, you are a gorgeous actress. And I thought Julianne Moore did great as her mum. I thought Julianne Moore did fantastic in that. Grace Moretz was massively miscast, and the director I don't think knew what they were.
Very good though.
She was, but I think she was so misguided in the role. Like, do you know at the prom when she goes into her killing spree, like she starts using her hands to like move things, and like, so that comes across as deliberate. Like, she's doing this for revenge, whereas the kind of original film with like, and I in the book, if I remember, she goes to a catatonic state where her brain sort of takes over to protect her. Like, it goes, she's out of control. Like, she's not, she is out of she's not controlling her behavior. Her brain's almost taken over.
See, I'd say in the original, the Sissy's basic is you get close up at her eyes going,
Yeah.
you're doing that, I'll stop you doing that. You're doing that, I'll stop you doing
Well,
that.
no,
So you see
her eyes don't move. They go like quite wide, and she's just staring intently forward, and everything's happening and burning and falling apart
But doesn't
around
she
her.
look towards?
No,
I
no.
saw she did.
I think she does to the doors, I think, if I remember correctly. But with great,
is it just that one?
I think it's just
I've
closing the
misremembered it.
doors.
Right.
I think. Don't quote me. Don't come
Yeah.
But yeah, with like the remake, she's doing it all by her hands and like pushing people out of the way with her hands and causing chaos. And I'm just like, you're doing this deliberately and you haven't lost control. You're just seeking revenge. I think that kind of misses the point of a innocent girl being pushed to breaking point of losing control.
Yeah.
And again, like there's a car that comes towards her, and in the original, she looks, and again, it's like she loses it for a moment, and the car gets,
Yeah.
Whereas in this, she turns around and looks at it and makes it crash.
Yeah.
And I think I found that quite frustrating because she just becomes a murderer now.
Yeah. I suppose what they might have been trying to get at is, obviously, I'm no expert on telepathy. But
I mean, you don't have telekinesis.
No, I kind of go at it like was doing spells and this, that, and the other, and other sort of magical, mystical. You have words and movements, and that's where you start, and eventually you get strong enough that you can just do it with thought. Maybe they were thinking,
Charmed.
yeah, maybe that's it. I grew up on Charmed.
You did. You was already grown up by the time Charmed came out.
Excuse me, that was 90s?
8.
Oh, I was just about grown up then.
How old were you? 18?
98. Guess.
I can't remember when you were born.
Ah.
I'm going to say you were probably like maybe 20.
Yes.
Were you?
Yeah.
See, you were grown up. I was 8.
Okay, fair enough. X-Files.
X-Files. Well, that's going to have to be a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole other podcast.
I think because there's so much cover on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we are about to hit our hour mark, and we don't want to bore anyone more than we already have.
Nobody's here.
Like the neighbours probably like, what on earth are they talking about?
Even the cat's got bored and buggered
He
off.
has, and the dogs have shut up as well. So, I mean, I suppose we should probably leave it on Carrie really there.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone wants to hear more about mine and Sarah's escapades of filmmaking, please do let us know, and we can have Sarah back to talk about filmmaking and X-Files.
Or just other films.
Other films.
And what other sports Anthony hated at school.
We could always do that as well. I mean, there's a lot for us to really talk about. There's a lot of mutual lover of films that we can talk about. But remember, this is Mr. Stitch Films' Creepy Corner, where we will discuss creepy goings on in the world, whether that be movies, ghostly encounters, scary stories, scary encounters, whether that be the neighbour next door. Who knows? So,
My mirror.
mirrors, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we try and avoid them at all costs.
Yeah. Don't get between two.
No, always,
No,
I
no,
think. Oh, we must discuss this more next time. Don't get between two mirrors. So, until next time, stay creepy and take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.